Hi everyone, Stephen Rothkieser here. Welcome to the Do Change Better studio. A couple of things that I wanted to cover off today. Firstly, what this channel is all about, how we can work together as a community to really put out good content that you're interested in, content that we feel is relevant because we're seeing that in organizations, both here in South Africa, in the African context, and globally in terms of programs we're working on. And then most importantly, to respond to your concerns, challenges that you're facing in whatever organization you're currently working in. I'd like to stress that this channel is very much about any organization, or what we would more specifically call a human system. So that could be anything from a government institution, could be national government, regional, provincial government, state level government. It could be a public listed entity, could be a family owned business, medium sized business, an SME. It could be a school. It could be a community center. What we're really interested in is how do we effect change more sustainably? How do we embed change, communicate change, embed change within organizations more effectively? This channel is all about how do we do change better. And while it's underwritten by the Change Consulting Group, this is a non-partisan position. We're happy to engage with any practitioners in the field. The only rule that we request is that we don't use this as a space to get into debates about who's right or wrong. Rather, let this be a space where multiple views can be shared. That's very much a CCG approach to change. There is no right or wrong. There are many positions, and this speaks to one of the primary concepts that we work with as change consultants, and that is the paradox of change, or the change paradox. So the change paradox is that for any decision that we make within an organization, there are usually both opportunities that emerge from that as well as risks. And if we do our work well as change consultants, then we ensure that we maximize the opportunity for an organization and identify appropriately and mitigate risk. In many change systems, what we find is the inability to hold both of those spaces simultaneously. So the paradox of change is there's risk-benefit analysis to be done in all scenarios, and there is no one right solution in the real world. So what we want to present to you is a very practical approach to change. Sometimes there might not be the budget available to do the full rollout that we would like or attempt to do in a particular organization. And so then we need to present various versions of possibility to an organization with appropriate opportunity versus appropriate risk analysis, so leadership can make an informed decision. So that's the first piece that we'd like to share with you, and we'll talk about the change paradox a lot as we go forward. Another thing that's important is to define what change is. In our view, change is very simply the emergence of something new or the implementation of something new, either in a planned way, which is the more ideal approach, or as a result of crisis. And the COVID-19 crisis that we're currently in globally is a perfect example of something that hit us quickly and it hit us hard. Most countries that have been affected by COVID came to know about this in a very short space of time, and had very limited resources, particularly time, to respond appropriately. And it's also a very complex problem. It's what we might refer to as a wicked problem, because there are just so many layers. COVID's a virus, but there are massive socio-economic and political impacts that emerge from COVID as a result. So clearly, today is the 17th of June 2020. We are right in the middle of this thing. And many of you might have questions around COVID. I'm not going to speak to the health implications of that necessarily, but we can certainly speak to the socio-economic and political ramifications and organizational ramifications of something like COVID. Again, always with the lens, what is appropriate for your organization? We don't believe in a one-size-fits-all. So that would be a fundamental methodological approach to change. No size fits all. We need to find what's appropriate for your organization. So a definition of change is really moving from a previous way of being, a past, or what we could call a legacy, into some sort of a new reality in the world. And in the middle of points A and B, point A being legacy, point B being a future that we desire to see put into place, there is a transitional period. And that transitional period is the time that we would say we need to be most aware and most conscious in terms of the decisions we make and how we manage that process of change.